Why should we respect tradition? When I was graduating from high school, I remember I transitioned from a very contemporary church to a very traditional. And I thought a lot of the activities that was going on in the more traditional church were kind of pointless, were kind of worthless. And I actually thought they were hindering people from following God. For example, the old traditional songs we sang, or everyone dressing up nicer, just those things didn't really seem to me to be beneficial. However, as I've started to get a little bit older, I began to have a little bit more respect for the traditions of my ancestors, or not even ancestors, but just the people that went before me. I once heard it said that the Bible, it tells us we're going to follow a straight and narrow path. And if we go too far off on the left of that path, we'll fall into liberalism. If we go too far off on the right of that path, we'll fall into legalism. And liberalism looks like ripping pages out of our Bible. Legalism looks like adding pages into our Bible. So while I definitely don't want to add things into our Bible of this is how we have to worship God, otherwise we're doing it completely wrong, I do want us to be a little bit wary. And in today's episode of Reading Your Bible in a Year, we talked about 2 Chronicles chapter 12 and 11. And in this, you get the story of Solomon's son. And now Solomon, to set the stage, was the wisest man to have ever lived. And his son didn't respect the traditions that his father had set up. It actually says this in verse 17 of chapter 11. This strengthened the kingdom of Judah, and for 3 years they supported Rehoboam, son of Solomon. During those years, they faithfully followed the footsteps of David and Solomon. While Rehoboam spent much of his life going from following God to not, and back and forth, when he was following God, he received the blessings of doing that. I think a practical way that this looks like in our life is whenever we're dating someone or we're thinking about marrying someone and we know they're not the right person or a good influence, but we continue to pursue them anyways, hoping that God will just bless us when we're blatantly disobeying him. And what we see when Rehoboam stops following the traditions of his forefathers, it says this in verse 12, but when Rehoboam was firmly established and strong, he abandoned the law of the Lord, and all of Israel followed him in this sin. And because they were unfaithful to the Lord, God sent the king of Egypt down to attack him and invade him, so the blessings of the Lord stopped. Now, here's what I want you to hear me say today. I want you to take this one thing away, my bottom line, that tradition isn't bad if it's making us serve Jesus better. The problem with tradition a lot of the times is that we don't think about anything that might be coming that's good from it if we're too young. And if we've been in tradition for too long, we only think about the bad things if we turn away from it. A simple example of this in our church is the type of translation that we read. Now, I'm sorry, I've read through Shakespeare, I've taken advanced placement literature classes, and I just have never been able to understand Old English. So I don't think the King James Version is as good for me as something like the New Living Translation, which is what I read out of every day on here. Because this Bible talks like how you and I talk. And I've listened to the interviews with the scholars that helped to write it. They love the Lord. They're pursuing God. But I don't want to fall off onto legalism of the traditions of my forefathers. But however, I will fall into the traditions of reading my Bible every day, making God a priority, praying regularly. Those are the sort of traditions I want to uphold. So as you go through your life right now, I want you to begin to look for traditions that are good and traditions that maybe need to be set aside. This is the test. Does this tradition make me follow Jesus? And do I have peace if I stop doing it or keep doing it? Anyways, I hope this encouraged you. If you want to read the Bible with me, then all you need to do is check out the description of this video where I have links to my Bible project plan that I'm doing this year. See you back here tomorrow.